Good morning, you fine people. Good afternoon, whatever it is. I have, as it were, a cheer me up, very tasty indeed, and the four major Spanish soccer papers, the front of which Marca is baby on board because they reckon that Thiago Pitch, aged 18, makes his full debut in LaLiga against Getafe at the Bernabeu tonight. Maximum demand. Arbeloa yelling and shouting in training, and he seems to be having some effect. Sergio Roberto, who scored the winner in the 6-1 victory over Paris in 2017, which overturned the last time Barca had a 4-0 deficit and went through to the next round, Champions League that was. Sergio Roberto says, yeah, the fight back is possible. Front of Mundo Deportivo with Lamine we can. Lamine, the miracle man. Lamine, the genius. Look, greetings, soccer fans, sports fans. We have 23 goals in 9 matches for you today. We have a Puskas Award candidate goal from an unlikely source and historic hat-trick. Yeah, Lamine. Spain's number 1 back on form. No Madrid yet. One of the maddest penalty kick scenarios you'd ever wish to see. And in a division where there are 9 coaches and 11 Spaniards, it's one Argentinian in, one Argentinian out, one Spaniard out, one Spaniard in, I think. Do you follow? Great to have you with us. On with the show, as the Norton version would say. Let's start with Barca 4, Villarreal 1. After this victory, Hansi Flick said about Marc Bernal. Right now, Bernal is a little head of Marc Casado. He played a great game today and he scored a couple of goals in the last couple of matches. He's playing at a really high level and he's giving us good structure on the ball. It's really important to keep possession and switch the play. I'm seeing great things from him, and that's what I love about Bernal playing at this level. He talked about the 3-goal victory for 1 and about not losing possession. He said, I don't know how many chances we had or we missed. That's just how it is. I think we needed these extra goals today. We needed to get back to a level and get back to the confidence. But to me, the work off the ball was super important. Where we lost ball, we were on them immediately. We kept a short distance between each of us and we were able to press directly, and this is important for the match on Tuesday. Now, I think it's worth a mention here that people were in the past slow to recognise Busquets, his importance, how good he was. And at the moment, I think people are diving in and going electric wild about Marc Bernal. There's absolutely no question that he's a thoughtful, elegant footballer who knows how to recycle the ball, sometimes without needing a look when the ball arrives to him because he's got good peripheral vision and he's done checking, and sometimes simply because he's a little bit taller. Del Bosque used to be that kind of player. A little bit taller, he sees things a little bit differently from other players. That helps. Bernal is a super prospect. Of that, there's no question whatsoever. The point I would like to make for those who are neutral watchers, or maybe those who are Barca fans from afar and don't get to games or don't see all the matches, there needs to be care taken. 1, Bernal is very junior, lacking in experience and just back from a year out injured. I think that when he gets mobbed and pressed, there are still natural errors coming from him, and when he's robbed and made to turn, in terms of recuperating territory, recuperating the ball, he's not elite level yet. I think he will be. He's a footballer I really like watching, and as all of you know, I have lots of maybe less and less constructive nowadays, criticisms of De Jong. Sorry that the Dutchman's injured for his sake, and I'm happy, however, that we'll see combinations of Pedri and Olmo and Bernal and Eric Garcia, who's suspended for Tuesday night. But the eulogies which have been given to Bernal, if they don't worry me. I'm just putting up a warning word that I think some of them are a little bit early, a little bit strong. Marcelino, the Villarreal boss, after the match said that the key to assessing things is, well, look, I'm happy on one hand, but very sad on the other hand. The key for me, Marcelino, was the 3rd goal from Barcelona, without a doubt. A goal we couldn't afford to concede. We made occasional mistakes throughout the match as Barca or any other team can, but their 3rd goal was disastrous for us. It was a precise move by them, but incredibly easy for us to have dealt with. We made this danger ourselves. It was a moment when the game was still very much up in the air. We'd previously had a chance to make it 2-2. I think Barcelona were suffering doubts at that moment. We opened the door to them to overcome us. It's a shame. I think that the result is far too harsh for what both teams produced on the pitch. We faced an exceptional Lamine Yamal, a clinical Barça, fuck them, honestly, and we made mistakes that we should have avoided. So that's football. For me, we showed a brutal lack of defensive intensity. Now, down in the hottest city in Europe, in the Grand Derby, it was 2-2 Betis Sevilla. Post-match, the Chilean manager, or the home side at least, Manuel Pellegrini said, "I'm really, really disappointed with the result, but my players need to know that football lasts 90 minutes. We played an extremely good first half, scored 2 goals, controlled the game, and Sevilla barely threatened us. In the second half, unfortunately, and partly due to our shortcomings, we subconsciously became complacent. We ceded the initiative to them, and they were able to equalise. In the second half, we, Betis, hardly threatened, becoming complacent because of the scoreline, which isn't usually our style of play. I don't think," said Pellegrini, "it was due to a drop in our fitness. Sevilla deserve credit. Subconsciously, we took refuge in the scoreline and allowed them to have too much control of the ball, which is what we hadn't done in the first half. But that wasn't our intention, nor was it a problem of fatigue. It was a psychological problem. We simply wanted to take refuge in the score." I think these are really strong words from Pellegrini. He's often very restrained in victory, and when he's critical in defeat or draws, you very rarely get him just lashing out in anger. What you get is constructive analytical comment, the kind of stuff that we all pay for. Anyway, this was more material for the Sevilla directors if in a couple of weeks they want to ask Almeida what's his salary for. Absent again, banned, remember, for the second week in a row, with 5 more games of his 7-match exclusion still to come. And yet the team fought well without him, very nearly won, having been trailing 2-0 to Betis. Really played quite well in the second half, it has to be said. And Almeida watched the game from the team bus. It's a rarity, but he was pictured on camera going into the area of the Sevilla dressing room before the match, despite being banned from doing so. Maybe another punishment will follow. As usual in this match, there was as much colour, controversy and clashing off the pitch as there was on it. The nearly 700 Sevilla fans who bought tickets for their specific section of the stadium were, without exception, told that their scarves, shirts, sweatshirts, anything containing Sevilla's name or the colour red would be confiscated on the spot. That's the reason that so many of the Biri ultras could be seen in La Cartuja chanting for their team completely shirtless, albeit that it was a beautiful sunny Sevilla Sunday afternoon. Immediately after the game, because the cops had treated the fans so badly, Sevilla announced that they would devote several thousand euros to repaying every Rojiblanco fan who paid for a ticket in that section of the stadium, which is a generous gesture and one aimed at the police tactics rather than at Betis. Speaking of the green and white, there was a hot moment when it looked like their opening goal scorer, Anthony, was going to get to fists or lamp one of the club's own fans. When you lead 2-0 and toss that away in that derby, it's unacceptable. And listen, the Brazilian was pissed off with how one of the Betis supporters roared and yelled abuse at him. Anthony went to confront. Cucho Hernandez intervened and toned the situation down. Only just. Maybe the nastiest of all came from television reports that Manuel Pellegrini's house had been vandalised on the outside with the words "Puto Betis," "Fuck Betis," sprayed on in red paint. Pretty disgusting. Mallorca 0, La Real 1. Look, this was bloodless, this was anemic from Mallorca. The players performed as if they were still in mourning for the departure of Arasati. And Sergio Darder used that exact phrase. He said, we feel mourning, we're going to have to get over our grief. They were awful. They didn't compete against La Real, who won 1-0, goal from Soler, at a canter. Not even a canter. So day 2 of the Di Michelis reign is, day 1 was him watching from the stand with German Lux on one side and one of his daughters on the other side. Day 2 was his press conference, and Di Michelis, the Argentinian central defender, said, "In Spain, I fully understand the phrase, yes we can, si se puede. We have to believe that we have to be all together in this. I think," said Di Michelis, "we have enough talent and more than enough to improve, to help each other. It's clear that the team is emotionally impacted, and that's where we need to focus our efforts. I've noticed many of the people that I've met, fans, and in my short time within the club, acting as if this were the situation on match day 37. There's still a long way to go, 12 matches, 36 points. And we have to approach this week with intensity in order to go to Pamplona and win. There are different ways of thinking, analysing and living life. For many, this is a crisis, and for others, it's an opportunity. To me, it's a wonderful opportunity to revive this institution from an uncomfortable situation. Because in life, there are many things 10 times more uncomfortable than this. I don't consider this a crisis. It's a situation which, given that Mallorca is a historic club in the First Division, with the structure that the players are on a daily basis, the staff and so on, it is uncomfortable. But we have to be realistic. It's a great opportunity, not just for me, but for everyone. De Michelis then added, I went down to the changing room yesterday after the defeat Saturday. I walked in, and of course you weren't going to find any happy faces. So I found a locker room that was surely hurting inside. I asked them, especially the captains, that we have to be able to rely on them strongly. And I'm only going to accept discontented faces from a player who's injured, because being injured in this profession is deeply frustrating. But as long as a footballer is healthy and can put on his boots and go out onto the field, I'm not going to be allowing him to be in the dressing room or on the training ground with his head down, his shoulders slumped. I need them to be convinced to give their best in every training session, because that's what we have to hold on to and grow from every session now on. So I think I was clear with the players today, Sunday, and it's going to depend on them who makes the standard, who matches the 11 every week. Big words from De Michelis, exactly what he had to say, but are those words going in? Mallorca were paper thin against La Real. Big problems for the Argentinian. Can he turn it round? Look, today it's all about controversy and desperate situations and glory and gorgeous football. Every week it's a little bit like that in Spain. Every week there's a fanfare, every week there's a show. This is the best place to watch or read about or join football anywhere in the world. So, at Revista de LaLiga, all we're asking is that you join us. Make yourself a socio, a member for £3.99 a month, or 30 quid to cover an entire calendar year from the moment you subscribe. Join us, please. You'll enjoy it. Rayo drew 1-1 with Athletic. I was on co-coms for that one with Bruno Bergerecci. There was a really nice comment on Twitter that I'd like to draw your attention to. It came from the director of comms at the San Jose Earthquakes, who's an Athletic fan. And he said it was the right way for me to point out that independent recognises independent, because the Rayo fans and the Athletic fans joined with the SOS banners to ask the world to save their souls from Martin Presa, the chairman of Rayo. And there was a hugely friendly atmosphere. On the pitch, somewhat similar. Iñaki Williams is the guy I talked about scoring the Puskas version of the goal. The awards are given out every year, and his control left thigh and then volley beautifully over Pattaya was one of the goals of the weekend. Strangely enough, I have to admit that maybe there was an even better one at Ibrox on Sunday. But Iñaki Williams scored an absolute beaut just at the time when the Spain national goalkeeper, the number one, was reivindicating himself. Unai Simon was man of the match and made an extraordinary save from a distant shot from Lejeune. But in the mixed zone of the Rayo Vallecano Stadium, Unai Simon emphasised, quote, if this team doesn't have intensity, it's a second division side. In the second half, we saw the Athletic that we want, the one that runs and wins duels. We can't be left in limbo this week. We have to show that we want to play in Europe, we want to continue through to the final of the Cup, we want to be as competitive as absolutely possible. Oviedo against Atletico. Oviedo at home lost 1-0 to Atletico. And Almada, the Uruguayan coach of Oviedo, admitted afterwards that his players were hurting. They're hurting because of all the effort they put in, and generally losing a match of this nature, as is often the case, even though Atleti have quality, can usually turn things around negatively. So I told them we have to pick ourselves up, we have to be strong in the face of this kind of adversity. Sometimes sport is very unfair, as it was today, and it has been for more than one match like today's. But we have to move on and try to bounce back somehow next Wednesday. They play Rayo in Vallecas on Wednesday for that postponed match. Almada said, I think we've got nothing to reproach the players for in terms of their commitment, their attitude and the football they played, which at times was very good. And he's right. We outplayed, he said, a team with a lot of quality in several stretches of the match. It's absolutely true, and Cholo Simeone has to face the fact that although this has been an increasingly positive move towards better football in 2026, them having been Jekyll and Hyde every second week, their win in Europe, their defeat of Barcelona, the way in which they've begun to look as if Lookman is making a huge difference, and the likelihood that they go through to the final of the Cup at the Camp Nou on Tuesday. All of these are positives, but here they were absolutely atrocious. They barely played football. Their only effort on target was that admittedly lovely finish from Julian Alvarez. And the one point of note beyond the 3 points, which came late and robbed Oviedo of something from a game where they'd done well, was a debut from the academy pupil, 21-year-old Julio Diaz, who played well and looks like he's there to stay. Levante beat Alaves 2-0, and the Portuguese coach Castro was asked about Etta Young evidently not being happy. During the goal celebration, Etta Young was patently grumpy and showing, listen, I don't feel I'm being treated well enough. I should start all the time. I should be given service, like Aspi, local kid who scored 2 goals in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the match. And the coach, Castro, said, I didn't look at the situation that you've asked me about. It's something that I haven't even noticed. It's normal that Etta Young and any player who isn't starting can't be 100% happy. If they're happy when they're not playing, I don't want them here. I like it when players aren't happy if they're not playing, because they want more, and that's the best thing that can happen. But for me, Etta Young came on and played very well. If he was a footballer who doesn't have much impact on the team, he wouldn't have passed to Espi. He would have kept the ball and tried to take on defenders one-on-one and done the selfish thing. He has the physical qualities to create distance from the defender, push him around. So I was celebrating the goal with Carlos Alvarez when it went in, and you just celebrate when the closest person is around you. So when Espi scored the goal and more people gathered around him, I didn't look to see what Etta Young was feeling or how he's behaving. We love Etta very much indeed. We're working hard to bring him back to his level and give him the importance that he once had, and we have to keep moving forward for the benefit of the team. It was Alaves that they beat, and it's Alaves who looks like they're changing the configuration of the coaches in the Primera. Caudet won't admit it, but it looks very, very much like River Plate have offered him a contract. He's going to ask to leave Alaves, probably be granted that permission, maybe with River having to buy him out, with Quique Sanchez Flores taking over again, maintaining one Spaniard out, Arasati, one Argentinian in, Di Michelis, one Argentinian out, Caudet, and one Spaniard in, Quique Sanchez Flores. A 9-11 balance, foreigners and home coaches in LaLiga, for the moment at least. Busy weekend. What's next? Elche 2, Espanyol 2. There was a simply wonderful goal here for the second for Espanyol from Romero, a player who's been dormant in recent weeks, but whose drop in form has probably account for some of Espanyol's dropped points. Nevertheless, this was an absolute left foot cracker in the top corner, and I also love Kike Garcia's opening goal, racing away and finishing across the keeper for Espanyol. But the whole event has been blighted by accusations by El Hilali to Rafa Mir and to the referee that the Spaniard racially abused the Catalan. Yeah, El Hilali was born in Catalonia, just to establish that fact. But wherever he was born, it's irrelevant in terms of racist abuse being completely unacceptable and something that needs to be purged. All you and I can do is highlight it, talk about it, argue against it. Innocent until proven guilty is a truth in our society and all that kind of stuff. So all I'll say is Rafa Mir may have time to attend to his defence on this matter while he's defending himself on accusations of rape too. I'll leave all of that with you. Girona 1, Celta 2. Now, look at the stats. Celta are the third best team away from home in La Liga, behind only, of course, Barça and Real Madrid. and I think they're only 3 points less well off than Barca on the road this season. Giraldez, their very youthful coach, who's having a hell of a season, said, regarding our away record, it's utterly incredible. And the total points that we've got, not just on the road, are amazing. We're on 40 with 12 games left. It seems crazy, especially considering how we started the season. With our first win coming away from home, we couldn't win at home. That was match day 10. It's incredible and speaks volumes about the group. We're still alive in 2 competitions, and we're not neglecting the domestic league at all. Today we had some key players out, and the ones who came in with less match fitness were impeccable. Antagnon's debut, another kid from the academy, fills us with pride, especially given the personality he showed. It's hard to imagine a better 2 weeks than the last 2 weeks. Let's wrap it up with Valencia 1, Osasuna 0. And this is one that I simply have to describe to you in case for some chance you didn't see it. The former Manchester United academy boy, Largi Ramazzani, went big. Get it? This was his best performance in years, his best display since joining Valencia, and he was man of the match. He scored the winner, also from 11 metres, but after a retake. And that's where the real fun began. It's the 66th minute. Join us. Ramazzani is lining up to take the spot kick, and Sergio Herrera, who, and I will brook no arguments here, is a prick when he's on the pitch. Good goalkeeper, arsehole on the pitch. Anyway, Herrera delays the taking of the kick as keepers do, and Ramazzani is beginning to do his Viennese prancing pony run-up. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to him, Valencia captain Jose Gaya is about 20 metres outside the penalty area, way back, chatting to giant Osasuna defender Katana. It honestly looked like a stilt walker and a midget had escaped from the circus, such is the difference in their stature. Anyway, as Largi Ramazzani just looks as if he's off to set off, Gaya sets off at a run to back up the penalty take and to be sprinting into the box in case of rebounds. Young Largi is so stuttering and stilted in his run-up, but by the time he's approaching kicking the ball, Gaya has sprinted all of those 20 metres, leapt over the penalty box line into the area, and is ahead of the taker before the kick is slotted home. I was impressed with the referee, Adrian Cordero Vega, that he didn't literally fall over laughing, and instead turned to Gaya to look at him in an admonishing way, as in, the fuck are you on? And then Cordero Vega, claro, ordered the kick to be taken again. It was high comedy, and it looked as if Gaya must have been on LSD or something mind-altering, but instead, it was just the way in which Ramazzani chose a roundabout way to approach kicking the ball. It took him forever to get there. Anyway, second take, second goal. Herrera left rooted to the spot. Gaya only just stopping his second run up on the edge of the box. Victory for Valencia. Amun Valencia es un equipo de primera. Tonight, it's Real Madrid against Getafe. Tomorrow we'll have a preview. Tomorrow morning for Socios, we'll have a preview of Barça against Atletico with Jamie, Mr. LaLiga TV Eastern. And tomorrow night we'll be live at the Camp Nou, Pete Jensen and I, for the Cup semi-final. Atleti leading 4-0 as they go into the second leg. Thanks for being there. Viva Spanish football.